Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 51st episode of the Secrets of a Witch podcast with me, Sabrina Scott. Happy Easter weekend. Yesterday was Good Friday, and tomorrow is Easter, and today is just a Saturday that's chilling out in between. There's a lot of interesting witchy stuff around this time. It's pretty fucking interesting. There's some folks who feel that Good Friday is the time when the dead reign, when the devil reigns, and it's a great time to do any magic that you're not comfortable with to do in the rest of the year. Because of the unique circumstances of this moment. And I find that so fucking interesting. And I've had a conversation recently with someone who is Christian who had a tattoo of 3 animals. I can't remember fucking which ones, but it was the lion, the eagle, and something else. And it's so funny that I'm forgetting this, but I was noticing, I was like, oh my God, that looks like the, 3 out of the 4 creatures. Oh, it was like a bull. 3 of the 4 creatures that are in each corner of the Wheel of Fortune tarot card, and they're also in each corner of the world. It's the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, right? And the person was like, oh, well, yeah, it's like, this is the same reason I got mine. I was like, hold on, what the fuck? And so apparently, and this blew my fucking mind, like I still need to look into this, but apparently in Christianity, it's called the tetramorph or something. There's another name for it as well. And like, we were like looking it up and I was like, my brain exploded basically. And I was like, what the fuck? So it got me super interested in some of these aspects of Christianity that I've never heard of because I wasn't raised Christian, even though I was raised in a Christian country. And that was my cat sneezing. I don't know if you guys heard that, but I just found it so interesting. And so I'm really curious about some of those aspects of Christianity that are hidden within the tarot, that are hidden within Western occultism, because those 4 creatures, those 4 corners of each of those tarot cards are so significant to us in witchcraft and magic in the West, which is what I do. And I'm sure what a lot of y'all do, because if you don't, you'd probably be listening to someone else. And so that for me was so powerful. And this person gave me this whole like short speech about it. And I continue to be intrigued. And anyway, that all seems related to this moment of Christian holy days, Christian vibes. And I do think that even if we're not Christian, that there's so much interesting fucking shit and so much interesting opportunity that we could dip our toes into. Because, like it or not, Christianity is an old fucking religion. It's old as fuck. And, some of the new age pagan-y folks don't want to admit that and just want to paint Christianity with a really broad brush and just be like, it's evil, it's everyone's crappy, blah, blah, blah. But the only thing that makes Christianity bad in any way is the people, some of the people who practice it. And I think that is true for any religion. I think the same thing is true for witchcraft and magic and paganism. There's nothing wrong with Christianity. It's just in this world there are shitty people. And, one thing I will respect Christians about is they are really hardcore in what they believe. And they don't really give a fuck if anyone thinks that they're insane. And, I kind of wish more witchy folks felt that way. And because I think a lot of witchy folks are embarrassed about themselves and embarrassed about what they believe and, would never pray in public, would never do anything witchy in public. people are, afraid of that. And a lot of Christians are not afraid. And you know what? A lot of Muslims are not afraid either. I've seen people praying in airports, Muslims praying in airports in random countries, and like countries where there's not a Muslim majority. And I respect that so much. How deep people's sense of belief and connection is, that they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this in public. And like, I really don't care if you think I'm nuts or if you think I'm weird. Like, I think that's really cool. And I respect that in a big way. And, it also remains true that some of the most spiritually potent holy sites I've been to were Christian churches. Feeling the holy water at, oh my God, I think it's Notre Dame in Paris, was electrifying. It was like my hand was like on fire when I touched the holy water. And I've never felt that in a New Age store. I've felt very similar in Glastonbury in England, which is a pagan holy site. And I, let the water there go over my feet, and I received messages from the spirits there, from the land there, from the earth there, from my spirits there, and received instructions about various things that I then went on to do. And I just think it's fucking cool. So I respect Christians. I respect Christianity, I think more witchy folks should. And this conversation with this person got me so much more curious to learn more, because I feel like, the more I learn about that, the more ammunition, the more wisdom I could probably incorporate into my witchcraft. And I've always been very clear that I'm not a Christian and I don't teach witchcraft in a Christian way. And I'm like, I don't know, it just sounds fucking cool, so why not learn more? And, the history of magic is also the history of syncretism. Historically, especially in places like England, which is where half of my family is from, and France, where the other half is from, Christianity... Oh, that was my little baby kitten. How sweet. Christianity has been always practiced alongside the more ancient folk pagan beliefs, and Christianity has been incorporated into witchcraft for a very, 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 very long time. Very long time. And so that's just something I'm curious about and am fascinated by, and would encourage all y'all witchy folks to think about and reflect on during this time of the... My cats are just like climbing on me, making noises. But I would encourage y'all to think about that, because I do know there are some people who, due to your own baggage with Christianity, whether that's personal or just in the culture, I have heard a lot of people have this kind of knee-jerk reaction against Christianity and just be like, oh, it's evil, or it's like, ew, Easter, gross. And it's like, honestly, everyone just needs to fucking chill and like grow up and realize that an entire religion isn't evil because there's a few bad people in it. And I think it's cool to just think about the opportunities and the depth of the different folklore and beliefs and myths and teachings in all of these different spiritual vibes. I think it's kind of cool. So anyway, that's my speech about that. Happy Christian vibe weekend. Anyway, so welcome to the Secrets of a Witch podcast after 10 minutes of me talking about Easter, where I, Sabrina Scott, talk about life, love, healing, witchcraft, magic, spirituality, and everything in between. And this is going to be, I don't know what I'm doing today, but I wanted to thank you guys for, well, there's my cat sneezing again, for 9,000 listens of this podcast, which, since it was the full moon a few days ago, and this podcast launched in the February full moon, it has only been 2 months of this podcast. And thank you for 9,000 listens of 50 episodes. So I've done 50 episodes in 2 months, which sounds crazy. So that means since 2 months is like, I don't know, 60 days roughly, I've made episodes every day except for 10 days, which is also fucking insane. So thank you everyone for being along for the ride for this crazy experiment that I'm doing, this podcast. I really appreciate all of you listening and sharing and leaving good reviews. So if you could please continue to do that, I would absolutely love it. Share it with a friend, leave a review, listen to the episodes that you skipped over because you thought they might be boring. And I just wanted to reflect a bit on some of the most popular episodes of this podcast, a little bit about what it is I've set out to do with this, because it's true. It's not just a podcast about, here's some witchy 101. Here is, the 5 best candles to buy. Here is, 3 love spells to change your life, blah, blah, blah. And I think all that stuff is fine. Like, it's cool, but at the end of the day, like, witches are people. And I think a lot of what gets left out of teaching on witchcraft is the individuality and the, the life of everyone who fucking practices. And it's weird, like a lot of the time people talk as though witchcraft is not got anything to do with like human lives. It's just about like copying from a guidebook or a correspondence list or, magic on weekends type of attitude where it's like, yes, we do magic on the weekend. We put on our little cloak and we wave our wand around and then we get back to our normal life. But the way that I believe is that magic should be integrated into our lives. Magic, of course, we can have our special rituals and all of that. Like, that makes sense. And there's a loud airplane. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But wherever you go, ultimately there you are. And so that is why I'm also talking about other stuff, like staying safe from abuse and noticing signs of manipulation in various areas of life. And what else do I talk about? Like feminine energy and masculine energy. And I find all of that stuff like really important when we're thinking about how to live a life that is infused with magic. Yes, absolutely. But there's more to magic than magic, as I talked about in a previous episode. Witchcraft is so much informed by who we are as a person, how we live our lives, what lens we view life through, how it is that we are living, whether we're healthy, unhealthy, to what extent we are healed. And obviously the healing never really ends. Like whenever you think you're done, then something happens. It's like, oh God, no, I'm not done. I'm like so not done. And I just feel like that's so beautiful. And I think that witchcraft that is done with an awareness of all of that and an intentional movement into healing and self-awareness and growth, I just think that's so much better because all of who we are informs the witchcraft that we do. And my other cat agrees. This is a cat-tacular episode, apparently. And I just think all that stuff is so important. And so that is why this is a little bit of an unconventional witchcraft podcast, in that not every episode is explicitly about witchcraft. Though in my opinion, every episode is implicitly about witchcraft. Even when I'm talking about manifestation and affirmations. And so I saw a grumpy post on Instagram recently. I fucking don't even know or care who it was by. But it was like, witchcraft is not the same as manifestation. And it's like, no shit. Like, we know. But I do think that they're related, as they're both different forms of energy work. They're both different forms of summoning things to us. They're both different forms, I would say, of magic. Because if manifestation and affirmations and all of that shit, law of attraction, isn't a form of magic, I honestly don't really know how I would characterize them. Because they're not the same as witchcraft. Obviously, we all know that. But there is something very magical in the way that these things claim to function, the techniques and mechanics of it all. And so if you're kind of listening to this podcast and you're like, I don't know why she's babbling on about this or that, try to take a step back and be like, okay, so she says every episode in this is ultimately about witchcraft and magic in some way. how, and see if you can't put two and two together in your own way. Because that is like the MO of this podcast, right? It's to bring together like all these different things that as human beings we have to deal with, whether that's ending friendships, whether that is dating, whether that is healing from trauma, whether that is figuring out like what our own magical point of view is. Like all of that stuff is related. Like you can't extract it from each other. And I refuse to make 10 different podcasts about each of those things. So it's just all together in one, which is why I'm doing this the way I'm doing it. So I just want to say thank you, everyone. You're the bomb. And I want to remind you guys of 2 opportunities to learn from me this moment. So they are, of course, the Magic May group experience, which I'm so fucking excited about. So every day in May, join the Telegram group, which is like a group chat, kind of like WhatsApp over text. Every fucking day, I will give you a prompt to connect you more deeply to your magic and your witchcraft. And you'll do that in community of, at the moment, 20 people. And so I want to see how fucking big we can get it. How juicy can we get this group? How many people can we get in here? Because honestly, it's the more the merrier. And I know there's going to be shy people, there's going to be outgoing people, there's going to be wallflowers, and there's going to be people who reply to everything. And I just see it as this beautiful opportunity to create connections and to really reconnect to our magic and reawaken to ourselves and the beautiful magical reality of the world as we're leaning more into spring, at least up here in Canada. It just is going to be so fucking cool. And if you are jazzed about that, you can check it out at sabrinamscott.com/magicmay. It's going to be fucking fun. And like, it's a steal. Like a group experience like that with me would usually be like $300, but I'm doing it for $47. So you're going to want to jump the fuck in because it's going to be the best. And the other opportunity to learn from me, I actually don't have this on my website yet, but it is called Recession Era Witchcraft. I'm teaching it at the end of the month. The date is going to go live really soon. That one is $97. It'll be a 2 to 3 hour workshop with me about like how to do witchcraft in a recession, which we're in right now. I know there's a lot of folks who are flush right now, and that's really amazing. But this workshop is for anyone who is feeling a little bit vulnerable right now, anyone who is feeling kind of broke, anyone who is feeling stressed out financially. So we're going to talk about how to not just survive through these moments of recession and like stress, but also how to fucking thrive during these moments, right? So magic around money, magic around banishing fear, magic around clarity, magic around how do we see the opportunity in this moment? Because even if things seem horrible, there is always a fucking opportunity. And magic ultimately is about survival. It's about thriving. It is spiritual, yes, but it's also about elevating ourselves materially. It just is, and it's always been about that. And I really want to teach that in this moment because I do feel like that's what folks really fucking need right now. And so if that's interesting to you, send me a message, ceo@sabrinamscott.com, and I'll send you the link to sign up. It's going to be really fun. It'll be taught on a weekend at the end of the month, and the replay, of course, will be available as well. And then the other thing that I'm teasing right now, and I just sent out an email about this, and I'll probably, speak something similar to the email here on this show, but feminine energy. I just spent yesterday designing the curriculum for a course that's been in my head for probably 2 years now on feminine energy. And I feel inspired but also fucking terrified to launch this course because I think there's a lot of people who still are not ready for this. I think there's a lot of people who are so triggered by talking about masculine and feminine energy that like someone probably could try to cancel me. But people have tried before and like they've never been successful and like, touch wood. I don't really feel like I'm cancelable, but I do know that a lot of people have walked away from me in the past because some of my ideas around this are not exactly always the party line in the woke circles. And as time has gone by, I've become a little bit more critical of the party line in the woke circles. And I've always taught on magic and witchcraft and energy in a very gender binary, non-denominational way. So if you buy any of my courses actually up into this point, other than my feminine energy and plastic surgery and witchcraft masterclass, literally everything else that's available right now of my teachings and my ideas and my lessons is all talking about energy in ways that are not gendered. So I talk about like receptive energy, active energy, because it's really important to me that I teach in ways that are accessible to everybody, whether you're non-binary, whether you're trans, whether you're gender fluid, whatever. Everyone can understand it when I talk about energy as active or receptive, right? Or as doing or not doing, as being or, acting. Everyone kind of gets that. And I think that's really important. I don't want to change that in terms of what's accessible and how I teach about magic. That being said, I think it's important that I begin to also teach about more advanced and more specific practices when it comes to energy, because it fucking matters, and there's going to be people for whom it's relevant and people for whom it resonates. And that person is me. I always wanted to try to connect with feminine energy and female divinities, and it took me like fucking forever to figure out how to do it. I was so blocked. Identified as non-binary for like 20 years, if not longer. And I always identified as androgynous, and I always worked with male energy and male divinities up until I started working with Santa Muerte in my 20s, who is female, but she's a very unconventional female. She's a skeleton. And so her feminine energy shows up in a really different way. And so that was one way that I was able to connect with feminine energy, get my toe in the door kind of, and begin to sort of like nudge open the door. And so even like, oh my God, it kind of took me until I was in my late 20s, 28, 29, 30, to really be able to start to work with more clear feminine energy, like Saint Lucy and like other, female beings, goddesses, all of that. And I couldn't even connect with goddess energy until very, very recently. And this is me who's been doing magic and witchcraft forever, but due to my own gender journey, due to my own life experiences of, bad things happening, and how does that relate to gender? How does that relate to my ability to connect with feminine energy? All of that journey, like I had to like specifically decide I was going to learn feminine energy. And it took me I think I started when I was 27, 28. Now I'm 33. So that's like 6 years to really figure this out. And of course I'm still learning, but I want to make that course for people who would be like me, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, who no matter how hard we try to connect with feminine energy, whether that's goddess energy, whether that's a female saint, whether that's female ancestors, whether that's the goddess that lives inside of us, whether that is, our own feminine energy as a woman or as, a feminine being, a feminine energy in terms of dating and leaning back and receiving. Like, it has taken me until, my mid-30s now to figure this shit out. And it is witchy. It is magical. It is a different, more advanced level of working with energy in a specifically gendered way. And so am I ever going to stop teaching about like energy and gender, energy in a non-gendered way? No, like I'll still always be able to teach about witchcraft in that way. That's the baseline. But now I do think it's so important to start to teach more in depth and a more specific way for the people that are called to learn that from me. Because, if I had someone holding my hand back when I was 13 and saying like, hey, this is feminine energy, this is goddess energy, like this is how you unblock yourself to it, like that would have been fucking awesome. But I guess it's something I had to figure out for myself and then begin to teach. Because what I see is there's so many women and so many people who are disconnected from their feminine energy right now, and specifically women. And so I want to begin to teach on that more. So I'm going to be doing a kind of soft launch of a course on that this month. If that is something that you're interested in, I think the full like balls to the wall launch will be in June. But I want to do a little launch of that, so it will be much cheaper. Like a kind of a secret launch. So if you're interested in being in on the secret launch, please send me an email, because I want to really make this available first and foremost to anyone who like really is compelled by this before I do it into a bit of a bigger launch. And so this course is going to be it's going to be very similar in format to Magic and Tarot Without Bullshit. There will be a group coaching component for the first cohort. And it's going to be comprehensive as fuck. And it's going to be the course I always wished that existed back when I was younger, because I do see so many women blocked right now with their feminine energy, and that was me not so long ago. And I still am always in a dance with it. And I just feel like it's important. It's something that I need to speak on, even if it's not quote unquote politically correct. I don't really care. If it's not for you, that's cool. I'm always going to have other offerings, but I do think there's a lot of folks who will feel called to this. And if that's you, send me an email, ceo@sabrinamscott.com. Everyone is welcome in the course. It is going to be very gendered in terms of how I talk about things. I do welcome non-binary folks in the course. I do welcome men in the course. It's totally cool. But I will be speaking in a particular way. And so if that is something that's going to bother you or trigger you, just keep that in mind. So I'm fucking excited to launch this course. I'm scared to launch this course. I'm oh my God, everyone's going to think I'm crazy. But, this shit has changed my life. And I think it really is next level, evolution of what is magic. And it's applied energy work to the full being of a human. So anyway, that's today's episode. If you're interested in that, send me an email, ceo@sabrinamscott.com. I would love to hear from you. And that is all for today, my beautiful people. That is all. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've had a wonderful day. I hope your Christian vibe weekend is awesome, and that you high five bunnies and eat eggs and or chocolates or whatever you want to do. I have some exciting stuff planned, so I'm going to go do that. And I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rest of your weekend. And I don't know yet if I'm going to do anything tomorrow for the pod or whatever, but do keep your eyes tuned on YouTube. My YouTube is Sabrina Scott. I've been doing live tarot readings for the week ahead with some oracle cards as icing on the top of the cake every Monday around lunchtime. So if that's something that appeals to you, just to get a little tarot vibe forecast for the coming week, do check that out. The one for the last few weeks is available on YouTube under the live section. All right, friends, that is all from me. Talk to you soon. Bye.